Hello students, I am Bharti from Gyan Girls School. Welcome to the first session of the poem titled Amanda from your literature textbook First Flight. Today in this video I have come up with the central theme, message and poetic devices of the poem. Before going through the central theme of the poem, I would like to tell you something about the poet. This poem, titled Amanda, it has been composed by an Australian poet named Macmouth Klein. The author of this poem is Robin Macmouth Klein. She is an Australian author. She writes books for children. She was born on 28th February 1936 in Campsie, New South Wales in Australia, and now she resides near Melbourne. Let us see the central theme of the poem. The central theme of the poem revolves around how a child is constantly nagged by her mother. The poet sheds light on how a child is always monitored and questioned about her actions by mother. The given poem is about a teenage girl named Amanda. She is constantly instructed by her mother to do one thing or another. Her mother asks her if she had finished her homework. She asks Amanda if she has tidied her room. She asks Amanda to clean her shoes. Amanda doesn't like her mother's interference. She feels that her freedom has been curtailed. She is asked not to bite her nails, not to hunch her shoulders, not to sit in a lazy position, not to eat chocolate, etc. Because of all these do's and don'ts, Amanda doesn't feel happy at all. She wishes to live alone. She wishes to live in the world of her own imagination. She imagines herself to be a mermaid, an orphan, and finally a Rapunzel. Now, students, why Amanda imagines herself to be a mermaid, an orphan, and finally a Rapunzel? All these descriptions you will get in the next video when I will come up with the detailed explanation of this poem. There I will explain you each and everything. Now, let us see the message of the poem. What message does this poem give to us? The poem conveys the message that children need to be given more freedom and liberty. Excessive nagging makes them defiant and they turn a deaf ear to the instructions and suggestions of the elders. They develop a kind of dislike for real life situations and start escaping from them. They tend to live in the world of dreams and imaginations. Students, when you will read this poem, you will find that Amanda, she is also lost in her own world of dreams and imaginations. There she imagines herself to be a mermaid. She wants to live like an orphan. She finally wishes herself to be a Rapunzel, because all these three, mermaid, orphan and Rapunzel, their life, there is loneliness. They are staying alone. There no one is intruding their freedom. So Amanda wishes to be like them. All these things we will discuss later. The second point related to this message of the poem, that is, the poem indirectly lays emphasis on the need of a healthy bond between parents and children. Parents should understand the psychology of children, who in turn should be respectful and responsible to their parents and elders. Now, have a look at the poetic devices. The poetic devices the poet has used in this poem, they are assonance, metaphor, repetition, imagery, alliteration, allusion, consonance, and anaphora. Let us see the examples of all these poetic devices. Stanza number 1 and 2. Now we will discuss the poetic devices of these stanzas. Take the first stanza. Don't bite your nails, Amanda. Don't hunch your shoulders, Amanda. Stop that slouching and sit up straight, Amanda. Now in this stanza number 1, the word Amanda has been repeated again and again, and this is an example of the poetic device repetition. Then you can see in the first two lines, the first word is don't. So the repetition of this word don't in these two lines. Okay, this is an example of anaphora. Now, anaphora is a repetition. It is like repetition, but there is slight difference. That is that they always come in the beginning. The word that is repeated, the phrase or the lines of the poem that are repeated, they always come in the beginning. In repetition, it is not necessary that always they will come in the beginning. You can see here, Amanda, it is coming at the end of each line. So this is an example of repetition, but don't, it is coming in the beginning and it is repeated here. So this is an example of anaphora. Now you can see the third line. Here I have highlighted three words: stop, slouching, and straight. Here you can see, students, that these three words, they begin with the alphabet S. S is a consonant sound. S. So in the word stop, slouching, and straight, the S sound has been repeated and they are the beginning sound or initial sounds. So this is an example of alliteration. Then you can see the next three lines. There is a languid emerald sea where the sole inhabitant is me, a mermaid drifting blissfully. Here you can see the poetic device metaphor has been used by the poet. Emerald sea. Now, emerald is a precious stone and it is green in color. So the sea has been compared. The sea is actually not a precious stone, but it has been called emerald sea. So here sea is compared with this stone emerald because of similarity in the color, that the sea water, the sea looks green in color. So because of this similarity, because of this similar green color, sea has been called emerald sea. So this is an example of metaphor. Then here you have got reference of mermaid. This is an example of an illusion. Now mermaid, it is a well-known imaginary creature. So this is an example of illusion. Now you can see the third line of the first stanza. Don't hunch your shoulders, Amanda. Here in the word don't, your, and shoulder, the O sound is prominent, and O is a vowel sound. Okay, so this is an example of assonance. Assonance is a figure of speech in which a vowel sound is prominent. So here you can find that the O sound is prominent. So these are the important poetic devices that the poet has used in the first and second stanza. See the rhyme scheme here. Amanda, Amanda, and Amanda. These three words are repeated in the first, second, and fourth line. Okay, and the third line, it has got a different word at the end, that is straight. So very simply, the rhyme scheme of the first four lines will be A, B, A. And see the next three lines of the second stanza, that is see, me, and blissfully. All these words, they end with the E sound. So they are similar, they rhyme with each other. So here they have got the quote CCC. So the rhyme scheme of the first two stanza is A, B, A, C, C, C. Now let us take up the stanza number 3 and 4. Did you finish your homework, Amanda? Did you tidy your room, Amanda? I thought I told you to clean your shoes, Amanda. Now again the word Amanda has been repeated, so it's an example of repetition. Again you can see did you is coming in the first two lines and they are coming in the beginning. So this is an example of anaphora. And here in the next three lines, you see the stanza number 4. I am an orphan roaming the street. I pattern soft dust with my hushed bare feet. The silence is golden, the freedom is sweet. Okay, so the first four lines of the third stanza, that is Amanda, Amanda, and then shoes and Amanda. So they are A, and DA. And the last three words of the fourth stanza, street, feet, and sweet, they rhyme. They are very similar. So they have been quoted as EE. So the rhyme scheme of stanza number 3 and 4 together, it is A, E. Now see the third line. I thought I told you to clean your shoes. Now here you can see the sound here. Thought, told, you, your shoes. O sound is prominent. So this is an example of assonance. And here the poet has also used the poetic device metaphor in the last line of the fourth stanza. The silence is golden, the freedom is sweet. Now, here silence is said to be glorious, like golden color, and freedom is said to be sweet in taste. Now silence is invisible, okay, and it is compared with golden. So silence is glorious, it is glorious, and so for glory the poet has used the golden color. And freedom, everybody enjoys freedom, and the freedom the person enjoys, okay, whenever a person is deprived of the freedom, okay, he doesn't feel good, he isn't happy. But when that person enjoys full freedom, he enjoys lot of joy and happiness in his life, and that brings sweetness in his life. So that is why the poet has called that freedom is sweet. Whoever enjoys freedom, whoever gets freedom, he experiences, feels it to be sweet. Stanza number 5 and 6. Don't eat that chocolate, Amanda. Remember your acne, Amanda. Will you please look at me when I'm speaking to you, Amanda? Now, here again in these four lines, Amanda word has been repeated again. So, this is an example of repetition. So, the whole poem, you can find in the whole poem, the repetition has been used by the poet. Okay, don't eat that chocolate, Amanda. Remember your acne, Amanda. Will you please look at me when I'm speaking to you, Amanda? In this stanza, see the third line. Will you please look at me when I'm speaking to you? In the word you, look, to, and you. Again, the O sound is prominent. So this is an example of assonance. You can see the sound R has been repeated in the first line of the sixth stanza. I am Rapunzel, I have not a care. So R sound has been repeated here. Okay. In stanza number 5, in the third line, will you please look at me? In this stanza, you can see that the E sound has been repeated in the word please, in me, and in when, and then speaking. So here, O and E sound is prominent in this line. Will you please look at me when I'm speaking to you? In this line, E and O sound is prominent, and this is an example of assonance. Here, this line, I am a Rapunzel, I have not a care. Okay, here the poet has used the poetic device allusion. Now allusion here, Rapunzel, it's a famous fairy tale character. Okay, and it has been so allusion is a poetic device, whether directly or indirectly a person, event, or thing in history or to a work of art or literature is referred. So some famous character, that could be a person, an event, anything related to history or to the world of art, to literature or mythology. Okay, so here Rapunzel represents an example of allusion. Now you can see here the line, will you please look at me when I'm speaking to you, Amanda? The assonance has poetic device has been used by the poet. Let us see the rhyme scheme of these two stanzas. Amanda, Amanda, again it is A, and for to you we will give F, and then care, rare, hair, we will use the alphabet Z for them. So the rhyme scheme of this stanza, in continuation with the previous stanza, it will be A, F, A, G, G, G. Now we come to the last stanza, that is stanza number 7. Stop that sulking at once, Amanda. You are always so moody, Amanda. Anyone would think that I nagged at you, Amanda. Here the rhyme scheme is A, H, A. And again you can see the poetic device alliteration has been used by the poet. See the word stop and sulking, they begin with the alphabet S. The S sound is there and it is coming in the beginning. So it is an example of alliteration. Then repetition, that is Amanda, is the word Amanda has been repeated again and again. So we come to the end of this discussion of poetic devices. I hope you all have enjoyed this session. Thank you, students.